right. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings. How is everyone doing this great evening, great morning, great afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you? I'm going to say that, give that greeting again, because now I am live on IG as well. So, once again, assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. Uh, Good morning, good evening, great afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope that everybody out there is doing fantastic. All right. Yes, indeed. I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be on here again. Like I said, I'm introduce myself again. My name is Miss Sasha, and I'm the founder and executive director of ABC Read, which is a nonprofit organization that I started 10 years ago. All right. And our mission is to develop and nurture a culture of literacy in Black and underserved communities. We've given away close to 6,000 books. We are known for having absolutely phenomenal reading events. We also make sure those reading events, we are having healthy foods, healthy snacks, because we know when we have our bodies filled with healthy things, that is going to help us not only gain information, gain knowledge, but also retain that information and retain that knowledge as well. Okay. And our reading events are intergenerational because we are about bringing the community together, our Black and underserved community together through literacy. Here we go. And also, I'm the founder of, as you all see, the brand Reading is Freedom. It is still in the pending phase of becoming an actual trademark name that I started a few years ago. And this was after I had read the book, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, and what one of his famous quotes he is most famous for saying is, "Once you learn to read, you will be forever free." And he said that because he knew that that was going to be his ticket to escape that hell called slavery. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to read the book. And before I do that, I just want to give you a backdrop as to why I chose the book that I chose to read this evening for me. Like I said, daytime for you. And the reason why I chose this book to read is because there is something that's been circulating around the internet that Nikki Haley, she was the former governor of South Carolina, and she had basically said that America had never been a racist country. And I'm like, wow, really? I said, wow, okay, never been a racist country. Now, mind you, her background, she, I just found this out recently. Shout out to my cousin, Melvin Dimes, had sent me a video with this brother who had broke down Nikki Haley and basically, I know she has like some Indian background and everything like that. And I'm like, wow. I said, okay. I said, so you have Indian background and seriously, you've never experienced racism here? You're talking about the same country that was founded on racism? Its inception was started on racism and oppression and subjugation, right? The indigenous people, the Native Americans who were already here, cooperating with the land and, treating the land very well, like they should, like human beings should, right? But, they were totally, for the most part, majority of them were decimated. Okay. And then, of course, our enslaved African ancestors were drug over here to build up this nation. As Dr. Greg Carr would say, this settler colonial project. I love that term a lot better. And you say that it never was a racist country. And, and it just goes to show you how, unfortunately, when people buy into the false notion of white supremacy, they can get really bewildered and beguiled and bamboozled. Okay. Don't mistake whatever things that you've achieved on a personal level and whatever gains that you have gotten. Don't ever think that, okay, I have these things, so racism can't exist because I'm successful. I have this booming business and I have, these types of clothes I want to wear or cars, and my kids can go to these types of schools and I can travel. And how's it racist? And that's a very ignorant way of thinking. And the reason why I'm addressing it is because, unfortunately, our children are privy to a lot of this information, as we know, that's circulating across the internet. And that's why it's very important. I don't care where you get information from, whether it's me during a read aloud giving information or anybody that you're learning from, please make sure that you research, because anybody could be wrong because we're human. But that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing the read alouds. These are entry points. These are tools in which you can utilize to go down those rabbit holes, to dig further into whatever information, whatever jewels, whatever gems that you're gaining from, my read alouds or any type of information that you're receiving from anybody. Okay. So with that being said, I thought it would be very befitting to read this book to the community. All right. The 1619 Project, Born on the Water. Written by Nikole Hannah-Jones and Renee Watson, illustrated by Nicholas Smith. All right. Let me go ahead and begin. Questions. My teacher gave us an assignment. Who are you? She asks. Trace your roots. Draw a flag that represents your ancestral land. Most of my classmates can count back many generations and learn about the countries where their families came from. They draw their flags, but I leave my paper blank. I do not know where I begin, what my story is. At home, Grandma asks, how was school? I tell her about the assignment, how I couldn't finish it, how I can only count back 3 generations here in this country, where my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents were born. But before that, I do not know. I tell her that I am ashamed. Grandma gathers the whole family and says, come, let me tell you our beginning. Let me tell you where we're from. What Grandma tells me, they say our people were born on the water, but our people had a home, a place, a land before they were sold. 400 years ago, in 1619, our ancestors were taken and brought here on a ship called the White Lion, a whole year before the Mayflower arrived. But before that dreadful voyage, there was a time when they did not pray for freedom. There was a time when they did not sing about overcoming. Their story does not begin with whips and chains. They had a home, a place, a land, a beginning. Their story is our story. Before they were enslaved, they were free. They had a language. They spoke Kimbundu, had their own words for love, for friend, for family. The kingdom of Ndango was nestled between the Lukala and the Kwanza rivers on a high plateau in West Central Africa. The people were good with their hands, knew the power of a seed, how to plant it, water it, how to make something out of nothing. The people were good with their minds, good at math and science. They used shells for money, counting, recording, trading. They knew what their work was worth. They spoke Kimbundu, had their own words for joy, for grow, for home. Their hands had a knowing. Their hands had a knowing. They knew how to hold a baby close, how to rock the child to keep her from crying. Their hands knew how to mix herbs, how to get the just right flavor for a meal. Their hands knew how to beat and twist and shape iron, how to make gardening tools, armor, and weapons. Their hearts had a knowing. They knew how to make work joyful, how to create rhythm by pounding the tools against metal, knew how to make music to keep them company as they worked. Their minds had a knowing, worldly, curious, sharp. When they met the white people, they learned quick, taught their tongues to speak Portuguese, taught their eyes to read strange words. They knew how to mix the old with the new, how even an ancient people always had more to learn. And they danced, and the people moved their feet, moved their whole bodies to the melody of horns and stringed instruments, of marimbas and drums. They danced to celebrate, to mourn. They danced as a way of worship, to offer thanks. Their bodies a song under open sky and bright sun. Their bodies a swaying testament to the beauty of creation. Stolen. And the white people took them anyway, kidnapped them, baptized them in the name of their God, stamped them with new names. Ours is no immigration story. They did not get to pack bags stuffed with cherished things, with the doll grandmama had woven from tall grass, with the baby blanket handed down from generation to generation, all the way back, so far that it carried the scent of the ancestors. They could not hug their fathers and mothers, daughters and sons, hearts thumping in rhythm, clinging to that final sweetness before the parting. No promises whispered from mouth to ear of seeing each other soon. Just wails and sobs, confusion, and wrists worn raw from shackles made of iron, feet split and bloody from the 200-mile march along the Kwanzaa River. They had no things, but they had their minds, the old ways, the harvest songs, the just right mix of herbs etched in their memories. They had their bodies, histories, and bloodlines, and drums pulsing in their veins. With trembling fingers, they braided seeds into their hair, defiantly hiding tiny pieces of home to plant one day in new soils. No matter what some say, the people fought, and the white people took them anyway, forced them into the bottom of an evil ship to sail to a new world they had no desire to see. Ours is no immigration story. The white lion. No one knows how long it took before they knew they would never see Ndongo again, never run along the high plateau or throw their heads back in giggles with their best friends. Maybe it was the second month or the third. when they had not seen their land or any land for so many days. They could no longer count. Some could not bear the pain. They refused to eat. They shut their mouths until their hearts gave out. Others tossed themselves into the teal eternity of the Atlantic Ocean, swimming one last time with the ancestors. Sickness and hunger, filth and cruelty took the others, almost half. But those who did not die resolved to live no matter what. Packed in dark misery, strangers chained together, head to feet, hip to hip, in the bottom of a ship called the White Lion. They saw that these strangers, men, women, children, kidnapped too, from many villages. These were their people now. These many people became one people, a new people. And that is why the people say, we were born on the water. We come from the people who refused to die. Point Comfort. Finally, the ship stopped moving and the people were dragged to the deck. They closed their eyes against the light of a sun they had not seen since Mother Africa's coast. They closed their eyes against the sight of a land that was not theirs. They cried a silent cry as white men spoke strange words, talking about their bodies, and with a handshake traded another's child, another's mama and daddy. 20 to 30 beloved human beings in all for a few pounds of food and drink. 400 years ago, in the year 1619, the white people called this land Virginia, a sweet sounding word for a place of such pain, a sweet sounding word for the place where American slavery began. Tobacco fields. From sunup to sundown, the people worked the fields, growing and harvesting tobacco. The crops were sold to Europe, bringing wealth to Virginia. But the enslaved people did not get anything in return for their labor. The people worked and worked. When the people grew weary, they remembered their yesterdays, remembered their songs from Ndongo, sang them to ease their spirits. As they sang, they looked into the future, hoped for better days, planted prayers into the heavens, praying, praying, praying for freedom. How to make a home. After a long day's work planting tobacco in the fields, after brutal treatment, after nothing to show for their hard work, sadness will come. Longing for Ndongo, for the mamas, for the daddies, for the friends they could no longer hug and talk with under the warm sun. We are in a strange land, they said, but we are here, and we will make this home. We have our songs, our recipes, our know-how. We have our joy. We will love, laugh, sing, and hug our children as tight as you can hold a child. We will survive because we have each other. And so the people planted the seeds they carried over the ocean. snuck to visit one another in the dark of night, sang songs, swapped tales of yesterday, remembering, remembering. And the people planted dreams and hope, willed themselves to keep living, living. And the people learned new words for love, for friend, for family, for joy, for grow, for home. We are in a strange land, they said, but we are here and we will make this home. We have determination, imagination, faith. We will survive because we have each other. The Tuckers of Tidewater, Virginia, 1624. Anthony and Isabella, enslaved on the plantation of Captain William Tucker and his wife, Mary Tucker. Two ordinary people, forced to till the soil, forced to build a country they were not from, found a way to build a love for each other, to marry and create a family, a legacy. They did not know their family would be the start of a new people. They were just two ordinary people who had a son, a new beginning, a promise to live on and on. William Tucker. Hope is a promise. Faith that a better day will come. Belief that things will not always be this way. Hope is refusal to give up, to die out. Hope is a child born. Way back then, hope had a name. William Tucker. He was born to ordinary people, a man and a woman who were not free, but who believed in freedom, who were not free, but who believed that one day freedom would come even if they never saw it. These two ordinary people gave life to an extraordinary child, a child not of Africa, a child not of Europe, nor of the native peoples already here, but a child of the new people formed on the water. The first Black child born in the land that will become the United States. The first truly American child. Resist. Life was hard, and it would get harder for the generations to come. White people told the people they were not human, that the people were things to be bought and sold and given as gifts alongside horses and chairs. When the people were beaten, they said the people did not feel pain. When they sold the people's children, they said the people didn't love. These were lies they made up so that they could feel okay about slavery. It is wrong, always and forever, to own human beings. It is wrong, always and forever, to treat human beings like things. The people fought back. For 250 years, the people resisted every day in ways big and small. For 250 years, the biggest resistance of all was that the people kept living. Legacy. And the people who were born on the water survived, kept living and living. It was illegal to teach enslaved people how to read, but they birthed generations of teachers and librarians, scholars and authors. They were brokenhearted, beaten, and bruised, but they became healers, pastors, and activists, doctors and counselors. No one could steal the people's joy. They wrote songs, created jazz and hip hop, rhythm and blues. They became inventors and athletes, nurses and cooks, pilots and architects, farmers and housekeepers, singers and artists, dancers and poets, mathematicians and scientists. They passed on their stories through the stitch of a quilt, shared secret messages through songs. The people survived. The people fought. And because the people survived and because the people fought, they finally got freedom. And because the people survived and because the people fought, America has equality in the law. And because the people survived and because the people fought, America began to live up to its promise, democracy. It is the people who fight for this democracy still. Pride. Grandma looks at me and my brother, tells us, this is why we say Black Lives Matter, why we celebrate Black girl magic, why we believe our ancestors' wildest dreams. Never forget, we are their hope. Never forget, you come from a people of great strength, Grandma says. Be proud of your story, our story. The next day I go to school, pull out my red crayon, my blue and my white. I draw the stars and I draw the stripes of the flag of the country that my ancestors built, that my grandma and grandpa built, that I will help build too. And I am not ashamed. I know what my story is, where I am from, where I begin. Right? The end, the end. So I will say this with this book, definitely very well written, very poetic. However, I'm definitely of the ilk of those who still profess our ancestors, our African ancestors, first and foremost. I can care less about the flag, honestly, because we know what it represents. You can, sometimes you may read a book and there are things in the book that you may be like, I ain't really feeling that too much. But the overarching message, definitely the theme of the book, which I appreciated from the authors, Nikole, Hannah Jones, and Renee Watson, is that they wanted to make sure that we started with our history being in Africa, not on a slave plantation. Because as Dr. John Henrik Clarke eloquently said, if we start our history on the plantation, then everything else will seem like progress. So our history starts where the cradle of civilization starts, which is Africa. A communal people, a people who were not trying to work against the earth, but they wanted to work with the earth. They wanted to love because they knew whatever love you give and whatever goodness you give, it's going to come back to you. And when you are dealing with folks who have the devilish mindset, they are very selfish. They are ingrates. They have a me, my attitude, that kind of spirit. Ain't no community. Everything is competition. And collaboration, what? When you collaborate, that actually starts to wither away at capitalism, right? So with that being said, again, I didn't really, I wasn't feeling an ending like that. But the message again was surely clear. And also, again, like I started in the beginning, when you got folks like Nikki Haley and then, Ron DeSantis, these folks out here, and they're just spouting out, things of ignorance. This country is not not racist. I mean, there were some bad things that happened, but we're better now. I mean, even just like in the book, it's like, oh, now, we have equality. And it's like, I wouldn't have said that. You know what I'm saying? I would have definitely said, okay, Black people are still fighting against oppression, because that's true. That this isn't, we don't have to, uh, guess at that. We see that day in and day out. If the whole structure, if the foundation is built upon rotten filth, you have to get rid of the foundation. That's just what it is. That doesn't mean that you don't have joy. That doesn't mean that you do not emanate goodness and happiness. That doesn't mean you got to walk around bitter and like, no, you be happy, because guess what? When you know who created you, you know that we have one creator. For those of us who are Muslim, we say Allah, and or you say God, same. All right, one and the same. When we know who our creator is, then we don't have to focus on that other stuff. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this story. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, please make sure that I thank you all for those who are able to watch the replay. Thank you. Please make sure you leave your comments, and make sure that you are continuously getting your reading in for at least 30 minutes a day. And remember, reading is freedom. Peace.